Welcome to Turn the Page, the official podcast of the Syosset Public Library.
Hi, this is Jessica with Syosset Library's Turn the Page podcast, and remoting in our librarians today are
Evelyn
and Stacy.
And our special guest today is
Hillary Huber. Is that what I'm supposed to do?
Yes, perfect. Absolutely. So would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself, Hillary? I'm sure listeners are like, I know that name and that voice, but would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I am an audiobook narrator, which is obviously why I'm here. And I have been narrating audiobooks for probably, I think, about 15 years. And I've got over 500 that I've done.
Whoa.
I don't have an exact number, but 530, maybe somewhere in there.
I found 525 records in Audible.
Yeah. You know what's so funny is that changes. And also there's some that are I was watching the Audible count recently because it was at 497. And I was like, ooh, I'm going to hit 500. And then 2 days later, I went on and it said 524. I was like, well,
okay.
Where'd those come from? And there's some pseudonym books too. But I think it fluctuates based on what platform you're using to access it. Anyway, that doesn't matter. I've read a lot of books. How about that? And I started out as a commercial voiceover person, and I did that for a long time, doing commercials. And then a couple things happened. One, I realized that that's not, I'd never wanted to be an on-camera actor. That was never a goal for me, but I acted. I loved acting. I did it all through high school, college. I did summer stock theater and I loved that. But I never wanted to be a movie star or anything. But I realized at one point, wow, how little of any acting am I using, shilling big gulps for 7-Eleven. I'd rather do something that felt a little more fulfilling, like I maybe had left something a little pretty on the planet. That coupled with the idea that I knew at one point I would age out of the demographic for commercials, because even though it's voice, there's still ageism. I mean, I've sounded like this since I was 17. I've always had a low voice, but I knew it would happen. And so I started doing audiobooks, and I'm so grateful because all of those things happened. I'm making art now, and I've aged out of the demographic. So I'm really grateful for that. I love the community. I love the people. I love the work. It's great. And I spend my summers not far from you guys out in Quag.
Oh, sure.
No way.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I'm an East Coast girl. So I live in Santa Monica, which is where I am right now. But I spend my whole summer in Quag. I was supposed to be there this weekend. I'm supposed to be there in a couple weeks again. But
just be glad you're not there today. We're having a horrible storm.
Yeah. It's
really nasty.
like 70 mile per hour
power
winds.
and everything.
Yeah, it's.
Well, we're so excited to talk to you. And one of the audiobooks that Jessica mentioned that you did that I listened to a while back was My Brilliant Friend.
Yeah.
And that's
nice.
What a great book. Did you do the whole entire series?
I've done every single one of her books.
Wow.
So there was those four.
So who is she?
I don't know if we're really supposed to discuss that.
Have you met? Okay, you don't need to answer, but have you met the author?
No, I haven't even met her. I even tried contacting Ann Goldstein, her
translator, yeah.
Her translator, and she never even wrote me back. So, I'm sure you guys know this, but a couple of years ago, a reporter from the New York, book review published who we thought it was. And, she has always said, if anybody outs me, I will stop publishing. She said, I'll never stop writing. But she said, I don't care if I never publish another book. That's not what I'm in it for. And so when that happened, there was such an outcry. And for a long time, no other publication would reprint who this guy thought it was. And then eventually it leaked out a little bit. But I went back about 6 months after that happened to see what happened. And it shot up into the sky like a firework and fizzled. And nothing ever came of it. And as you know, she's got I think you know, she has a new book coming out in June. Which I don't think I'm getting to narrate it.
No.
I know. I'm so bummed. I don't know. I asked the publisher, I said, listen, it went to a new publisher, by the way. Not print, but audio.
Cause it's Europa, the print.
Europa edition is the print. Yes. Yeah. And Blackstone Publishing published all of her other ones. Right. And now it's still an embargoed title, so I don't think I'm allowed to talk about it. So I'm just not going to say who the new publisher is yet. I'm sure it's out there. But I asked the producer, I said, listen, I know, I've done every single one of her books. And I just said, I'm sure it's time for a new voice. I'd rather hear it from you than have to read about it somewhere. Can you tell me who's doing it? And she told me it's embargoed. We can't talk about it, but I'll let you know. So I don't think I am. I think that, although when I just did a series of essays, she wrote an essay a week for a year for The Atlantic. And I just narrated all of those. And it was in the contract that I had to do it from Europa. Wow. So I thought that was interesting. But with this, I think it's gone to a big flashy publisher. And I wouldn't be surprised if they got a little more of a celebrity going now. She wasn't, she was well known and big when I did the Neapolitan novels, and obviously got more and more famous by the time the fourth one came along. Right. But I think they probably are. I don't know. We'll see. Well,
maybe
happens,
because they have the TV show, maybe now the series, maybe they got one of the people from the series to do it.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. I mean, we'll see. It's still, I don't know. I mean, it makes sense. You don't need the same voice for every book, although I sure would love to do it. They're treasures, those books.
Yeah, they're really wonderful. So I was looking up some of the ones you did, and a new one that's coming out is Pretty Things by Janelle Brown. But you did that with two other audiobook narrators. How does that work when there's three you're doing it?
Oh God, you see that a lot now.
Yeah.
It's mostly done when there is a point of view shift. Mm-hmm. So chapter by chapter. It's not going to happen sentence by sentence. But a really great example of a book that did that well is The Help.
The Help was my favorite audiobook of all time.
Yeah, and so every chapter is told from in a different person's voice, in a different perspective. It's one of the housekeepers. It's one of the women in town. So it was a multicast. So that is how I do more and more multicasts now. So that's how we do. It's broken down usually by point of view shift. Yeah.
One of my favorite multicasts that we all, I think, listened to recently was Daisy Jones in the Sit.
Oh, that was a really good one.
Yeah. Well, that was unique in that it was in interview form, right? But that was a great book, wasn't it?
Yeah. That one we really like. So once you get the script, how many times do you read the book till you sit down and actually read it? Just one. Well, you're a professional after 500 plus.
You know what? Listen, there's a couple things involved with that. First of all, we don't have time to sit and pore over the script. I hate to be blunt, but I'm not paid enough to do that. I don't have to memorize it. I just have to know the story. I have to know the characters. I also think there's something about performing when you're a little uncertain and you're a little on the edge of your seat, that brings a freshness. I hate it when things are over rehearsed and it doesn't feel, I want it to feel like that story is being told for the first time. Do you know what I mean?
That's a really nice way of putting it.
Yeah.
And so I don't want the narrator to feel like it's too practiced. I want it to feel more authentic than that. So call it justification. But I like that. I always read it once for sure. If it's a series and I've done 12 of them in a cozy mystery, I may skim it a little bit because I certainly know the structure. I know most of the characters. So I may skim it, but I always read them at least once. I mean, only once.
You've got
you hooked in. I'm sorry, Jessica.
No, I was just going to ask really quickly. I mean, the range of genres that you read is pretty great. We noticed you also read Final Girls by narrated Final Girls by Riley Sager, who we love.
Yes, I'm excited. I have the book that he signed, and now I'm like, no, I'm going to listen to it.
It's really
I don't care
good.
that I own the book.
Yeah, that's a good one. I love that one.
I do both, but in this day and age, I'm in the house, so I'm reading more than listening. But when things return to normal,
actually, the new Lisa Wingate book. Did you read Before We Were Yours?
Sure, of course.
Yeah, so I have a galley of her new one. I went to the Philadelphia. Were any of you guys there? Philadelphia Library Association. And I picked up her new one, and it's so flippin' good. And I'm reading it, and I'm kind of like, ooh, I kind of wish I was listening to this. But I seldom read. Same thing. I have time right now to actually read something for pleasure, so I am.
Yeah, I read that you have your own studio, or you go into a studio.
No, I have. Want to see it? Let's see it. Here we go. I'll take my background.
Sure.
How do I do that?
We're recording this on Zoom, by the way. So right now,
those of you who are
listening. Oh, well, I can't figure out how to make my silly background go away now that I've got it.
On mine, it's up on the top. You hit virtual background, and
have it on the computer.
That's okay. I'm going to. I'll edit this part anyway.
Sorry.
Okay. No, it's totally cool. This is going to go out probably sometime early May. So I'll make sure that it's nice and edited.
I'll get rid of it. All right. So there's my booth.
Oh wow!
In there, I live in there. Here's I'm gonna turn this around. I don't know. There's tons of audiobooks that I've narrated. It's not that interesting. There's my little desk. There's my little kitchen area. There's the rest of the office. It's not in my house.
Oh,
so yeah. I used to have a booth in my house, and I wasn't a very good boss, and I wasn't a very good employee, and I gave myself breaks, and I took them all the time. And it wasn't efficient. Wow, I wonder if the mail came. I think I'll go check. Do I need to start cooking dinner? So I finally got an office, so that also all joking aside, like I didn't like that feeling like, oh, you know what? If I take a break now, I can do another hour after dinner. I don't want to live like that. I want to go to work. I want to do my work, and I want to come home again. So I finally rented an office, and it's much better for me.
Do you have a producer there with you, or are you by yourself?
No. I'm
a one-man show.
Yeah, I mean,
one-woman show.
I did a book last week, and I had a director Skype in, and then sometimes I go to production facilities also, but I'd say 90% I do solo.
Wow,
which is the way it's going for a lot of us.
Oh yeah, a lot of other narrators are doing it that way also.
Almost most of them are. Most of them have home studios, especially if they didn't. They do now.
Right.
They are scrambling like mad to get their setups.
Yeah. So, it's important to mention, and I mean, when this airs, we hope that things will be different, but we don't know because we're recording this during the COVID-19 crisis. So I think Hillary brought up a really good point about what working from home really looks like. There's really you're not able to really clock out. There's always something else that can be done, whether it's after dinner or, not. And it's difficult to get yourself out of that mindset. At least I find it.
I find it to be a mix of that. It's trying to figure out a routine of like when to work, when to not work.
Yeah.
Like it's just, I'm like, oh, today is Monday. Like I have to remind myself that it's not like a continuous long weekend.
But what I wanted to ask before also, you know, and you've narrated nonfiction too. Is there, I mean, do you have a genre you prefer? One that's like a lot more fun than others? You're nodding your head. Go for it.
Historical fiction is probably my number one favorite because I love to learn something. And I just finished a phenomenal book called Exile Music about a young girl in Vienna during the war, and her family, her mother and father, and she get out early, and they get visas to Bolivia, and nobody else in their family gets out. You know, the connection between the past, Vienna, what she experienced there, and her new life in this world in Bolivia. It was such, you know, I think, I mean, there reached a point where I said, not another Nazi movie. I can't take one more Nazi movie. And because they're all so heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But this was such a different take on World War II and the Holocaust. And I loved it. It was beautiful. So historical fiction is my favorite because I love to learn something, followed by literary fiction. I love a good, dark, moody, emotional book. I love thrillers. I love narrating thrillers. I don't like reading thrillers necessarily, and I don't like watching anything scary. Like, I get scared when I watch somebody go through somebody else's drawer. I'm like, oh God, no, you're going to get caught. You're going to get caught. But I love narrating them. The darker, the grislier. I'm the worst with names. Who's my other huge author? Meg. I'm looking at my books. I just came out with
Meg
her.
Gardner.
Yeah. So I love her books. They couldn't be darker. They couldn't be more twisted. So I love narrating those. Maybe because I'm in control of the scare, maybe, you know, so you can't surprise me. I'm not sure what it is, but
biographies and memoirs. Do you love those?
I love those. I love a memoir. I've done a lot of like girls gone off the rails, books, you know, girl in a bar, girl drunk, girl psychotic, girl. I've done a bunch of those, and I love those. Actually, my very favorite one, I wonder if I can find it, was told from the perspective of the daughter, the alcoholic daughter, and from a beautiful family of 4 kids. Nobody else had a problem. It was told, that's right, I don't know this, told between the daughter's perspective and the mother's perspective. So again, it was a dual narration. And you heard what each of them were going through as this daughter fell apart and almost took down the family. And it was so unbelievably moving to see those 2 perspectives side by side. Like in one scene, the daughter has escaped from like her 3rd rehab, and they don't know where she is. And she finally shows up and she knocks on the door. And she says, the door opens, her mother answers the door, and she says, I could hear my family having dinner, and my mother told me that I wasn't welcome.
Oh, wow.
And that she would always love me, and that she hoped that she would see me again. And if she didn't, to know that she always loved me. And I mean, it was so heartrending. And then you hear the mother's perspective where she said, you know what? There came a point where I realized I was going to lose one child, or I was going to lose my other 3 children, because she was, and I had to send her away. And she said it killed me. But so that was amazing. I love a memoir. I don't know if I'm supposed to get as granular as that to the answers to your questions, but.
So here's kind of a weird question. I don't know if it's weird, but what do you listen to when you're exercising or you are in your car? Do you listen to other audiobooks, or are you more of like a music person?
Nope. I mean, I listen to music. I definitely listen to music, but no, I listen to audiobooks. I'm a rabid audiobook listener. In fact, I listen when I'm going to sleep at night. I have an old an old iPhone by the side of the bed, and I have a pair of headphones, and I've cut one of them off so I don't get tangled in it, because I used to get tangled in it, and I just keep one in my ear, and I set it for 15 minutes, and I fall asleep, and I love it. Mostly I love it when I wake up at 3 and my mind gets on the hamster wheel, I just pop it back in and I listen again. So I listen a lot.
Well,
So do we.
I love that there's.
So my question is, are you actually hooked up with any one publisher or any one audiobook publisher, or it's just everyone? Everybody.
All of them.
That's really cool.
I mean, for the most part, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of ones I don't work for. Scholastic, I don't really work for. I'm trying, but I don't do a lot of kids stuff. I don't know.
Okay.
But I'd like to. But for the most part, yeah. So publishers, both the book publishers and then independent producers is how we work. They often sell their rights to independent producers who produce the books, and sometimes author direct as well.
And how do you feel about so much?
More and more.
So many of them now going directly to digital and bypassing the CDs altogether?
It doesn't matter to me.
It doesn't affect you at all?
No, it doesn't affect me at all. So.
Okay. Because I purchase all of them from all the different publishers, and I also purchase for Overdrive, but I'm having a harder and harder time getting them on CD now.
Oh, yeah. No, that's a bummer for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I just did, every now and then I want a copy if it's a book that I like, which I have, 300 of them behind me. Mm-hmm. But I did a Very Stable Genius by Phil Rucker or Elena, the Trump book. And I wanted a copy of that. I was like, this is a good one to have. But that was only digital. But you guys have like Hoopla and stuff, right? Don't you do?
Yes, we have Hoopla and Overdrive.
And I have to say, during this whole time period, I feel like there's just been a boom in people who are now really aware of that option.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'm sure. That's great. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good thing we have it. I mean, we're able to appeal to, we're having the audio books and the digital ebooks helps us get a lot more of our patrons to have something to do.
Oh, yeah. They're not sitting at home twiddling their thumbs.
I gotta tell you guys, I don't know how many years ago it was. I was given a book about librarians, and it was called "This Book Is Overdue" by Marilyn Johnson. And at first, I was like, "Oh my God, I got to read a book about librarians." In my head, I was like, the librarian in school, always telling me to be quiet. The total stereotypical librarian. It is to this day one of my very favorite books I've ever narrated. I learned so much in that book, and I bow down to you librarians. I had no idea how amazing the work is that you all do. I had no idea. And I am like a fangirl with librarians. Have you guys heard of that book? This Book Is Overdue.
I've heard of it. Yes,
I've heard of
Johnson. It's amazing. She did another book about archaeology, and it followed the same kind of format. She deep dives into like 5 different areas that you kind of maybe knew nothing about. Like one was, I don't know if it's still out there, but there was like that game Sims, the video game, the Sim, you build your own world. There was one for librarians, and it had all of the lost libraries in it.
Oh, wow.
7 lost libraries, whatever they are. That's the Constantinople, and you created your avatar, and you all met up in this great sim world. That was so cool. She talked a lot about the curating and the fights for collections and just the keepers of knowledge that librarians are. So you guys are amazing, and thank you for what you do. When I went to PLA,
I was there too.
I was like, oh, you were?
Yeah.
In Philly.
Oh, right? No, that's okay. No, I'm thinking Public Library Association, a different PLA.
The Nashville
what did I went to? Yeah, PLA Spring, or I don't know what it's called. It was in Philly. I was like gaga. It was amazing.
Yeah.
So anyway, thank you.
No, thank you. Really, like what you do, we have so many audiobook readers, listeners that just, I mean, they eat it up. And I don't know. Stacy, did you want to add anything to that?
No, it's really cool. I'm on, I have your website pulled up on the computer. So I like what you have of the WhatsApp of what you just finished recording, what you're currently recording.
Oh,
and stuff. I think that's really cool. You even have a recommendation of what you should listen to and like a little brief reason why, which is really cool.
I like to celebrate my my colleagues. So thank you.
That's pretty awesome.
I'm not that good at updating it, I'm afraid. I was thinking I needed to update it this week, but I didn't.
Are you allowed out? I mean, you're not in your home, so you're able to go into work. They don't have.
No, they're letting us wander around here. They've closed all the beaches and they've literally blocked it off. And they've closed, the bike paths and all of the hiking trails and stuff like that. But they're letting us wander around. And my office space, it's just these little 10 by 10 little rooms in this huge old warehouse building. And I'm the only one here. Nobody's here.
Wow. Okay, good. So you social distancing.
Yeah. So, I mean,
safe.
you guys, how grateful. I'm so grateful that I can still work. I mean, for sanity, let alone financial reasons.
We're all grateful too.
Yeah, no, that's really good.
Very grateful.
And I know
I've seen you won quite a few awards, Hillary. The Audio Award finalist, Earphones Award winner, and Audiophile
Best Voice.
Oh, wow. Look at all those.
Those are all of her medals clinking.
Wow.
Yeah. Whee!
That's wonderful. So you get to hang around with fellow audiobook narrators at the awards, huh?
Well, yeah. we had our big award show in February, right before, the world fell apart. And it's really fun. We're all a bunch of shut-in book nerds, and we get to get all dressed up, and man, do we go for it.
You know what library conferences are like. It's the same thing.
Yeah, it's so fun.
Yeah.
Makeup, dresses, everybody goes crazy.
There was like a really insulting commercial a few years ago about a library convention. I don't know if anybody knows what I'm talking about, where it's like that's as much fun as a library convention and everybody's shushing each other. And I'm like, that's not what it's like.
Not at all.
Clearly not been to one.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. That's right. I had so much fun at that library convention. Everybody wanted to stay out partying way too late.
And then you got to get up early for the next round.
Yeah.
So if you could, one more question before Zoom cuts us off. If you could retroactively narrate one book from, I guess, before you became a book narrator, can you think of what it might be?
What's my dream book?
Sure.
I mean, there are books I want to narrate that even since I become a narrator, I didn't get chosen for, right? You know what? I mean, I'd love to, and I could theoretically, well, no, it's not in PD yet, but it will be soon. I'd love to do Gone with the Wind.
Oh, that's a good one.
Book.
Yeah. I'd love to do
Never read it, never saw the movie. So I'll wait for your audiobook.
Something to look forward to.
I have a copy.
Saw the movie and read the book in college.
I want a copy, so I have a copy on my bookshelf. This would be a good time to read.
It's been narrated already. Somebody's done it. I can't think of who. And I listened to it. It was great, but I would love to do that.
That's a good one.
Would you see that as a multiple narrator or just you doing it?
No, I think that should be. I think that's a single
one.
That's Scarlett. That's Scarlett.
Well, I want to thank you for chatting with us and lending us your voice.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
I'm delighted to. Delighted. I love talking audiobooks anytime.
Well, who knows? Maybe we'll ask you back to talk more audiobooks at some point.
On your way out to Hillary, on your way out to Quad, you could stop and see us.
I know.
It's right
on the
off
way.
the LAE.
Yeah.
If I ever get back there.
Okay. So thank you so much, Hillary, for coming remoting in to talk to us. Once again, this was Jessica.
Evelyn.
And Stacy.
And our guest was?
My pleasure. Hillary.
And we're going to
Hillary,
close
hi.
this chapter of Turn the Page.
It's time to close this chapter of Turn the Page. Join us for the next episode.